use your phone or anything else. That if you go to a URL, the URL will access your phone, and you can. So it can be across the room. It can be at your house, across the state, across the world, and you can pull that into your OBS stream.
I do not. I use NDI, and
Oh,
also
I hate NDI. Sorry.
separates professionals from the streamers. But hey,
Whoa!
whatever.
No, I just cannot get. I cannot get.
I know.
I can't get. There's Ninja. I cannot get NDI working. Adam once told me, get NDI.
Yeah, I know.
And I got NDI. I couldn't get the fucking
free
thing
version
working.
is a little bit limiting, and you do have to do some configuration to do anything beyond that. But the other thing is I'm on Mac and iOS, so they're already connected. There's no need for a Ninja, because if the phone is yours and the computer is yours, they already know about each other, so you can just select it from a list. Yeah, then you would you'd go for the Ninja.
Go for the Ninja. I always say go for the Ninja, and I also always say welcome to the art of rock. Hold on, I'm going to push the magic button. Are you streaming here? Look at that, we're streaming. Hello everybody, we're streaming. Oh my god, it's Saturday morning. Restream's doing all these weird things because that's my life. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tonga people as being the traditional landowners of California, of Los Angeles, where I am right here, right now. So thank you for surviving. Next, every Saturday we're here. Most Saturdays, perhaps I should say, that we try and do every Saturday. Currently, I'm streaming to a green screen, and I don't know what that is. Atomic Tom, welcome. Alex is on a train in Germany. Alex, are you eating a pizza on a train in Germany? That's what I want to know. Thank you so much, Alistair, welcome. Thank you so much, Angelspit's Patreon. You keep me going. We're keeping each other going. That's my pledge. I'm going to keep you bitches going. I'm going to do it. I got an album there called fucking Ice Planet 9000 Nebula Suite. It's the new thing. New Angelspit's coming, don't you worry. I think I've just mastered the final track of the new Angelspit album, by the way. So you can listen to that one for free on streaming. Angelspit's also streaming. Rezi, hello there as well.
What's
it's the
up?
digital Rezi.
Hey.
Industrial Incisions playlist is a whole bunch of cool stuff. That's the link. Hey, I'm going to post this into the Zoom thread as well. You guys should so fucking pimp that. And if you guys want to add a track to that, let me know. Email me the track, the Spotify URL, and I will add it. All I ask in return is that you pimp it, because we must work together in everything, guys. If you're bored on Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon, depending on where you are, Vulture Culture does the best fucking synth thing. I think it's the best one on the internet, because he's honest, and he's got a new segment on it. Would he let his daughter Michelle date that synthesizer? He doesn't have a daughter Michelle, but we all have a daughter named Michelle. Would you let it date a Moog 1? No, you wouldn't. I'd let Michelle date a K2000, but not a Moog 1. MTV TV is insane, and you need to go there, and we're streaming there afterwards. There it is on Twitch. Please love it. Go watch it. And if you want to get involved, send them your video. They're going to play it because it's bloody awesome. They also have a Patreon. I want you to go. I want you to fucking give them money because they need it. We got to keep them going. It is so important. And Rezi, as always, I thank you for co-hosting.
Thank you for having a show.
Thank
Always
you,
a pleasure.
dude. I'm going to jump into this. So on Wednesday night, Alex at Vulture Culture did this deep dive into the new Erica Synths steam pipe. Hi, Jen. And if you haven't seen this, watched Alex, you've got to watch Vulture Culture. Is brilliant. It's so much like there's a whole bunch of people sitting in drinking. We don't do that on Art of Rock because if we did, it would be coffee, but it's late, so we're drinking and talking about synths. And Alex is getting into the synth, and this time it was the Erica Synth steam pipe. And the funny thing is that, you know, Alex said if he had a daughter named Michelle, probably wouldn't be telling Michelle to date the steam pipe. Alex gives a very honest rundown of, the synth. If you're into this, this, and this, yeah, get into that synth. You'll like it. If not, don't. Because a lot of YouTubers seem to blow smoke, and Alex does not, and I absolutely respect him for that. But while I was watching it, I was thinking, I really need to get into the K2000, and the rant here is get that synth that you haven't used much of and throw yourself into that damn synth. And hold on, while I'm over here on, it's coming. So the K2000 is, I'm going to go out and I'm going to say, the thing about the K2000 is that it's 30 years old. And then out came the K2500, and it was a 48 note polyphony version. The K2000 was 24 note. Then came out the 2600, where I think they kind of smoothed out the rough edges a bit, and in doing so they got rid of the absolute unique terror of it. Then they brought out the K2661, which was kind of a bit more in line with the original K2000. Now it's the 2700, which is very smooth. The 2700 is so fucking cheap, and it's an absolute fucking behemoth workstation. It's insane, like 300 note polyphony or something, I don't know. Anyway, there's these algorithms on the K2000. There's like 31 of them. And the first like 10, if you want to build analog stuff or bleep bloop regular synth stuff, you use the first 10. And then these other ones for just fucking spacey shit. So I was, watching Alex thinking, Vulture Culture thinking, I really need to bust open the K2000 because... So I did. Interestingly, there's not a lot of sounds online for the K2000. Not really many people got into programming it. It is easy to program, but there's a bit of menu diving. Today I was going to have it on with a camera over my shoulder as we fucked with it, but I couldn't get a camera to look at the screen plate, so you're just going to see my hairy arms playing with the synth. The thing about the Kurzweil is that there are a whole bunch of very, very, very different forms of distortion. Like there's this wave shaping, then there's this sawtooth wave shaping, then which you can tune the wave shaping. Then there's this square wave shaping. Then there's 4 different kinds of distortion. Then there's warping. Then there's all this fucking shit you can do in this thing. And there are these 3 little blocks. So you can say, well, I'm going to start with a regular string sound. So one of the built-in sampled string sounds, or you can sample a string sound, or it can be a drum loop, whatever. Then I'm going to run it into one of these fucking weird distortion things. Then I'm going to put it into a band pass filter that's going to be doing this. Then I'm going to put it into something else. Then I'm going to put it into the amplifier section, which is going to be distorted. So with all of these things going, and then you can be setting off saying, well, I'm actually going to tune the first thing to a fifth. So there's an instant harmonic because they're being smashed together in this kind of like fucking kaleidoscope thing. And you end up with these sounds that are just whack. And I was talking to my mate Tony Irving, who's in Melbourne. And Tony, hi Frank. Tony's had it coming up. Tony's had a K2000 for as long as I have, which is like 30 years. I got it 30 fucking years ago. You should come up. I've owned 3 of them. They're so good. Tony uses his for disco because Tony's going through a disco phase, as you do. I've got this disc, which I don't have in front of me right now, which is called the analog disc. And I keep telling Brett I'll send him a copy, but I don't know how to. But the analog disc is the best analog sounds I've ever heard come out of a digital synthesizer. Because the thing about the K2000 is you can distort it and drive it and fucking chew that motherfucker up. And you can get some genuine, real hot distortion out of that synth. The headroom is ridiculous. And it's built to distort. And the interesting thing, it's got digital I-outs. I'm sorry, am I boring you? It's got digital I-outs, but what it's going to do is it's going to make everything analog, including adding reverbs to it. My reverb chip is busted, so whatever. Then it's going to convert it to digital. Don't use the digitals because there's so much shit on this thing you lose. And it's just tits. And I was, that's Australian for bloody awesome. And I was talking to, and so it's got this fucking analog card, and it's the best analog disc, and the whole thing is like 1K. I mean 1 meg on a floppy, and there's 100 sounds, and they're so fucking good. In fact, they're so good, I had to turn the Kurzweil off, put it in the room next door because I was using them too much. Then you can mimic Pink Floyd exactly. Then you can mimic every organ ever made exactly. And this is using synthesis, not sampling. Then you can do all of this, hi Adam, endless fucking shit. Then you can do dark ambient, regular ambient, 90s ambient, made for that shit because it's from the 90s. 90s trip hop, made for it. You know, the industrial stuff, all the shit that I talked about in this video. But then you can do seriously whack shit. Eliza, welcome. Frank, come here. And I was just struck at how insanely versatile this synth is. And the bottom line is, fuck with what you got. Really fuck, because it's really interesting with the synthesizers. You get to a certain level with programming and messing around with it, and then you stop and go, I found my comfort zone, I will stop here. And yeah. And it's another really interesting thing. Like, I used to hate presets, hate them. But now I've gone, you know what? I kind of, the thing I like about presets is that now you are using somebody else's headspace, and because, you know, those presets were made by humans. You're using their tricks and their everything else. Then get in there and tweak them. You know, when you're using some crazy huge synthesizer and you push beyond what your thoughts are. Because if I'm going to do it, everything's going to sound like Jean-Michel fucking Jarre. But I really want it to sound like Wendy Carlos from fucking Switched on Bach, because it's so, that shit is, anyway. So I'm throwing the gates of oblivion open to talking about pushing synthesizers, or synthesizers, new synthesizers that you've seen and inspired. And Eric brought up the Warthog. What do you already own that could inspire thought? Like, what is something on your synthesizer that you know it does, for example, AM or FM modulation or something, but you do it very often? The resonator.
I don't have any technical stuff right off the bat. I hope y'all chime in with some specifics. But one of the things that came to mind, two things that came to mind are, one, take one of the synths out of the closet. You've got one in storage that's like a Casio SK something or other that you think has no sounds left to inspire. I don't know. Dig it out. Put it through a new processor. Do something interesting with it. It's probably got some latent talents that you didn't uncover. Technically, how do you do that? Who knows? The other thing is, people love to make new tutorials for beginners on stuff on YouTube, and there's a solid chance that even the simplest synth has somebody putting a slightly different spin on the basics of the thing, and noticing something. You might notice something that you hadn't before. Hopefully somebody has like something specific and technical more than that, and I can continue thinking about it. Or not.
Well, no, yeah, I just had to give the great Grey Protector his morning fucking where he goes crazy.
Hey, no criticism. That's important stuff.
Yeah, he's going to go crazy. Anyway, this is a really important thing, and it's really interesting as well, is that when you start doing stuff. Okay, so Ivan, go.
I got the Hydrosynth Deluxe, and you know, you can go swimming on the deep end with that for as long as you'd like, because the deep end is very, very deep. And like, it doesn't even include a sequencer. I mean, it's just the synth engine itself is, you know, that much depth and that many choices for modulation. It just goes on for days and days.
Okay, so can I ask you, what in there, and Super Tablespoon, welcome, what in that haven't you used before? So what's something that it offers that you've never used in a synth, or what's something that is sitting in that synth that you're going,
I think I need to spend more time with the ribbon controller actually.
What about synthesis?
I mean, it does AM, it does FM, it does subtractive. Uh,
But my
yeah,
point is, what are
those aren't really a surprise. It's mostly it's like mod matrix that it is so very deep that makes a difference.
tell me
That
more.
it's really good at like wave shaping, which like it's probably the thing that I've got that's the best at that. So like I haven't really need to spend some quality time kind of really exploring it.
Okay, so do you have a wave shaping or other trick that you've done that you want to share? Because I got a wave shaping trick.
Not yet.
Okay, do you want to know a wave shaping trick?
Mm.
If you can, when you're talking about wave shaping, you're talking about moving a triangle between a ramp and a triangle, right? Okay, great. Or and that's also going from. Can you go from square to triangle?
Why not?
Well, but can you on the hydrosynth?
Well, I'm sure you could.
Okay, because you can do that on the Voyager. And what you can do on the Voyager is you can say, well, one of the oscillators, which the trick is to make it sound really predominant, you have to mute that oscillator. Is you are going and also set it to a fifth or something like that. Is you are going to be modulating between a sawtooth and a triangle, or a ramp and a triangle. So it's going to go from a harsh sound to a more dull sound, and it's going to do it with the frequency, with the modulation of a note. Now, by doing that, you're going to be setting up a really weird harmonic. Because if you use that oscillator to modulate your amplifier, you're going to have an interesting sound. If you do it on your filter, you're going to have a different sound. And if you do it on a pulse width modulation, you're going to have another sound again. Although it's the same frequency, same meh, 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 it's the thing is that harmonic it hits is going to be different. And the trick is you have to turn off your that oscillator's got to be off, because if that oscillator's ringing, you're not going to hear the effect of it. Now, another fun thing to do, if you can, use that shape to modulate the volume of noise. So you've got noise enveloped in a little tiny bubble of sawtooth moving to triangle. And what that's going to result in is noise giving the impression of a note. So it's going to be pitched noise. It's going to be amplitude modulated noise. And the great thing about noise is it's not just like that, it's like this. It's creating something wonderful. You might want to put a high pass in there as well, because there's a whole bunch of bass going on in that as well. When you start doing that shit with noise, you're going to get some very interesting things. And if you want to make it even more fun, run that into a distortion pedal. So the noise just becomes more consolidated. But I think personally, if you're going to do that, high pass it, and the high pass is tracking with the note. So the higher the note is, the higher the high pass is. And you're going to get some fascinating sounds. Thought of the day. Try that. If anybody else wants to jump in or anything like that.
I thought of two. The I also wanted to sort of maybe touch on wave shaping a little bit after this, since you mentioned it a couple of times. I realized that I had no idea how the process worked and what's involved and what the history of it, why it even exists. But so the first thing that came to mind was I haven't really spent any time opening up that piano and sticking shit in it. Like maybe empty out the cutlery drawer inside that and then play that kind of prepared kind of stuff, or striking and plucking the strings directly. So that might be an interesting thing I've never done with a synth. And then the Pro 1, I've never used really the audio inputs on it. I think they're pre-envelope. I know they're pre-filter. That's sort of the idea. But I got the notion maybe to reroute the post-amplified outputs back into the input for some extra distortion, or possibly sticking it as like an effects loop so that the synthesis engine has a patch point in the middle of it.
That is a brilliant idea. Can I also, because obviously that's the big trick on a Mini Moog, and you can do that on the Voyager as well. The thing they don't talk about on a Mini Moog is on a Voyager at least, is that the area that's going to explode is actually the bottom end. So putting once again a high pass filter or a shelf is going to help tame the brutality of it. Run it out of the instrument into a chorus, then run it back in, because on the Voyager you can pull stuff out at different parts. It's kind of modular like that. So you could pull the signal chain out here, stick it into something over there, like a bit crusher. Oh my God, do you have a bit crusher?
I have many options for bit crushing. I don't have a standalone bit crusher, but yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Something like that might be really interesting.
I think the limitation on the Pro 1 is that the patch point is fixed, and I think you can only select between patching I don't know if you can actually tap the oscillators and feed them back in at the same time. It might not have that flexibility, but it's an interesting thing to explore and find some secrets that it might unlock.
Does it have headphone output?
Single amplified output that's after a very scratchy pot, but there's it's just the one output, but I mean you can split it. It's not
split it. Yeah. Interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. That would be crazy. Okay, this is a fun conversation. Does anybody else? Somebody had their hand up and I just waltzed in. And also Super Tablespoon, thank you very much. Nervous is great. That's Braden, who's on Art of Rock sometimes. Terrifyingly good programmer. And they did another remix for me. Oh my God, it was so good. So please check out Nervous. Does anybody else want to jump in here and keep talking about this? Because this is great. I like this. Wow, that was really, really silent just then. Eric, you're being terrifyingly quiet.
Okay, I am kind of interested. What is really the difference between the VST engine and other engines?
The VST engine is completely... So it's the early 90s. It was technically made in 89, but they were fucking around with it for so long it didn't get released. Get this! They didn't release it until they got it right. Who would have thought? That's why they sat on it for so long. So it was in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when nobody had a fucking clue what the fuck was going on with synthesizers. So Kurzweil, in his genius, and Ray Kurzweil's a genius. Ray Kurzweil is up there with Mozart and Tesla. I just fucking said it. He's a genius. The guy's a fucking genius. And I don't use that lightly. Like, he is up there with Tesla. Fucking brilliant. And so the digital oscillators and digital filters and da was only just coming in. And EMU was about to release the morphing filters, the Z-plane morphing, which is saying, I'm going to morph from this filter to this filter. But Kurzweil said, well, look, if I've got all this stuff, why can't I? It all started because he wanted to do a version of the DX7, I'm told, and he wanted to put some filters on it. The low-pass filters on a K2000 are devastatingly ridiculous. They are so fucking good. They are, holy shit. And now you're fucking looking on Reverb for K2000s. I think K2000 should be $2 or $3 grand, but you can get them for fucking $300. They are still the best analog sound. I had a Jupiter 8 and a Prophet 5 and the K2000 amongst a whole bunch of other shit. And I kept going back to the K2000 because it sounded better. So answering your question, which is something I'm really bad at. So the premise of it is there's going to be 3 blocks. Fast has these 3 blocks. And in the first block, you can put, or it can be a complicated block, which is made up of 3 different changeable things, or it can be 3 blocks, or it can be a double block followed by a singular block. There's basically 3 blocks. And each of these are an adjustable parameter. And that could be, for example, the cutoff for a filter and the resonance amount. And there's the resonant 3-pole is fucking nuts. It's a 24 dB, but I just can't. It never got. But okay, so we got these 3 blocks, and there's certain things you can put in there. There's all these different algorithms that use these 3 blocks, but in different orders. And this one feeds back into this one, and this one does this, or it might be just going straight through, or whatever. So you can start creating these really complicated or shiny or fat or whatever. If you can imagine the sound, the K2000 can probably do it still. Each of these blocks can be contained with controlled by the note, the velocity, an LFO, a MIDI controller, a data slider, key pressure. I'm pretty sure it does key pressure. The mod wheel, whatever. It will also go into a sample. So it's basically a sample player where you can use your own samples. It's got like fucking 32 meg or something, 24, 32 meg of samples in it. Where you can go in and you can be applying filters, obviously, to a sample, but then you can do wave shaping. Then you can wave shaping on a sampler. Then there's pulse width modulation. Then there's all this crazy fucking whack shit that you can do on it that results in the most horrendously crazy or beautiful or sleek or terrifying sounds you've ever heard. And I still go back to it, I'll still go back to it going, fuck. It's just wild. There are new versions of it. Like there's the K2661 I saw, and it's a few years old now, and I saw one for like $500 or $600 or something. It's such a good fucking synthesizer. And the new K2700 came out at $3,000, and I'm seeing them out for being sold for like $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 now. Because people just went, and then I was watching the previews of it, and them doing Selling's pitch, and it's a guy sitting there in blue jeans with a hat, going, check out this great piano sound on a K2700, which is the revolutionary synthesizer, and no one is going, gee, I'm going to deep dive into this thing and tear it the fuck apart. And as they went on, they start pulling in really good 6 operator systems if you want to do FM or analog modeling or all this other stuff. Like, they're ridiculous. They're so, and the 2700 totally went under the radar. Like, if you've got a 2700, you could sell everything. Like, I was throwing up between the Moog 1 and a 2700, and I went with the Moog 1 because it's got more knobs. And
that's why they call it vast.
Yeah. It's just fucking crazy. And you can go from nice smoothie shit to Vast does have, it's got a ping pong game in it. So, and actually, Jen, that's really interesting what you're talking about there too. It can do anything. And so Jen's comment is the economy has people jettisoning their belongings at an alarming rate. So the bad news is if, you can get cool stuff. Or this conversation was, we were talking about this the other night watching the Steam Pipe thing, the Erica Steam Pipe, and the Moog 1 and the K2700, is that yes, the economy is a wreck, but the research and development required for synth manufacturers or any other manufacturer to be able to say, well, I'm going to spend 4 years in R&D on this synthesizer to create something that's still going to be a classic in 30 years. Those days are gone. And it's not just tariffs. It's it's the whole ability for a company to take risks. Like you could look at a company like and I hope Hex Inverter. Hex Inverter made the coolest shit. But Hex Inverter, because of the economics of making small runs of these absolutely fucking brilliant, like the Blade oscillator that Hex Inverter made is the greatest fucking oscillator. It's so good. It's so good. Hold on, he named it a tactical neural implant. Hold on a minute. It's Mind Phaser, which was, it was an homage to Frontline Assembly. It's an oscillator that is just brilliant. But because of the cost of making it, the amount of work that that crew had to go through to make them, and they didn't yield much, they had to stop operations. And also the drums that they did, holy fuck! And this is all pure analog Eurorack stuff. The kick drum that they did is the best fucking kick drum. If you want a 909, it's the best kick drum you can get. The DB9, BD9. It's ridiculous. And the clap is the best fucking clap there is. And the hi-hat, it's like, but I think Erica Synth ended up lending a hand with those guys as well. But this is what's very sad, is that the climate to experiment in music is not there anymore, and it's now gone into software, and that's great. I mean, like you can either buy an incredible noise engineering fucking delay thing for $400, or you can get the software version for $50. And it's the same thing with the steam pipe, is that you can spend $1,200 on it, or you can get a software version for $50, $100, $200. And they say that the software version is just as good, because there is a steam pipe 2, which is a Reason plugin. But it's just sad because there was a time when, and then you've got Moog releasing stuff that's, so much stuff is not finished. It's beta tested because companies can't afford to do that anymore. And I really don't know if there's going to be a K2800. Circle of Tone. Hello, welcome. I've never seen you here before, Circle of Tone. Welcome. How often do you use sends in a mixer to go into rack effects? I'm thinking of getting an analog mixer for my XB90. All the time. And the SPX90 is very noisy. Just FYI, and Razi's and he said, that's Carl is rant is over. I don't think anyone really gave a shit. Does Razi, I got your hand up.
Outboard gear. My ears pricked up at that, even though my knowledge of the K2000 ended in 96. So it was all kind of new information for me, all the subsequent numbers. But having the ability to go outboard from your DAW is really essential for the weird shit that's going to happen, for the mistakes that'll be made, and also for the quality of gear. Carl, you were mentioning that maybe not a lot of new, innovative, standalone boxes are being made, but there's a little bit of, I don't know if it's an acceleration or a renaissance, but in the guitar pedals and standalone boxes that go on the floor and you're supposed to not touch them but step on them kind of category, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And that is one of the things that you can get out to, certainly. My outboard is mostly things with large scratchy knobs. That doesn't really get emulated so much in the DAW and in plugins. And things that get real warm and have glowing meters on them for ambience. I think that's if not important for the vibes in the room, actually might have some sounds to it that you can probably emulate. But hell, if you've got a affordable actual opto-isolated with a VU meter ballistics glowing thing in the room that's going to make it warm, plug that in your effects loop, and then commit that stuff to your recordings. And it's, even if it only changes the workflow and doesn't actually do something completely unique in the sound, then you've got an advantage or disadvantage if you're really distractible, but possibly a unique moment to, so it'll bring something new to the work.
Yes, and I thank you for that. And I'm going to circle back to what Circle of Tone said, is I am now getting more into the habit, because I've got an old 01 96R desk, and it's huge, but you can get them now really cheap. And it's a digital, and it's 96K, and it's great, and I hate the reverbs on it. So I will go out of there, or if I'm not using the desk, I will go out of my sound device, sound card, throw it into the modular, throw it into a reverb or a spring reverb, and pull it back in. So in that way, I'm using my digital mixer as often. I will go to outboard gear. Also, I mentioned that the SPX90 is noisy. That might not be a bad thing. Remember the XBX? Yeah, you're right. It does sound so good. The SPX90's got MIDI on it, I recall. And some of that MIDI can change the functionality, for example, reverb times, delay times, and shit like that. Fuck with that. It sounds awesome because, the old Rev 5s and the Rev 7, or is it Rev 8? Effects unit, which has got the greatest gated snare in the history of humankind. It's muck around with that stuff. And this also brings up a really interesting thing of what is the and go the punk rock attitude in the Twitch chat. It's interesting, people say how, why get this stuff because it involves digitally, why get the hardware? For me, it is about workflow, and for me, it is about mistakes, and for me, it's also, I just hate looking at screens. And if you pay, okay, sure, you can get a plugin of something for $50 or free, but if you pay $500 for something or more, there's a little voice inside you that says, I need to fucking make that money worth it. So I need to squeeze every drop of okay, I'll circle into this about, dude, if you're talking about Deftones, I'm in, man. I will squeeze every ounce of value out of that because I feel like I'm financially obligated. And plus, when there's a synthesizer that's been around for so long, maybe that's a reason. But for me, it's about hands-on. And even if it is pushing buttons through a screen, it's a workflow thing that is, when I spend more time on a sound, I think it's going to be better. And I think I'm going to try more things. That's just how I work. It might be because the culture I was brought up in. Because the magic nostalgia for me of making music involved a room full of synthesizers. It wasn't plugins. That's just to do with my age. Actually, the magic nostalgia of me making music involved harpsichords and, people in frilly hair who laugh because I'm that old. Yeah, hey,
the other cavemen would just hit things with rocks.
Yeah, I know. I was there, I remember. But I taught them how to rock. Dude, that coffee nearly came out your nose, Ivan. That was a terrible joke. I'm sorry. Yeah, man, the 900 and the SPX 900, from my recollection, here's Brett, has a most wicked fucking damn thing I want it, gated thing. My mate Igor gave me a loan of his dimensional Roland fucking reverb.
Dimension D?
That's it. Oh no, was it the D or
The
the?
D is not a reverb. You said reverb, and I was already starting to say Dimension D
It was
when you said that.
the old ones. I've got it in my thank you notes. I've got it in my thank you notes right here. So if you got a copy of Ice Planet 9000, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, look at all the nice, and there's 2 CDs in there. Look at this. Oh yeah, look at that CD. And I just bought a DVD player so I could listen to CDs. Ba-da-da, look at that. And it comes with this. So thank you everybody who supported me. It comes with this very cute little zine that's got a rundown of each track. And it was the Roland SRV330 delay. And he also gave me a loan of his SDE 330 delay and the SRV 330 reverb. And that reverb sounds fucking great. Brett, good to see you. It's good to fucking see you. So yeah, cute little booklet with nice little paintings. And they're different to the paintings in there. Wow, man, I did a lot of fucking paintings. Oh, hold on, I used that one twice. Yeah, there you go. Great shit. So I say absolutely, but one piece of, and thank you, Rob. Thank you so much. I'm glad you got it. One piece of advice with reverb or like fucking effects units and shit is, it's so easy to go crazy and buy a whole bunch of shit. Don't. Do your research and find out one that's classic and it's not going to lose its value. And then that's what I think anyway. Oh, cool. Thank you. And if you don't want to buy the shit that I have, it's all on streaming services for free. And I'm okay with that. I feel like I'm talking a lot today. And I'm just not making any sense because that's me. Why make sense? Why? Brett, welcome.
Hey guys, how y'all?
We're all good. We're talking about synthesizers. Really? Synthesizers today? Who would have guessed? So if anybody wants to jump in about other hardware related stuff or software related stuff, but I think the theme of today is pushing the envelope and how you can push the envelope a little more.
Broken synthesizers.
Okay, do they actually work or do they go fuzz pop?
They actually work kind of like circuit bending.
Tell me more.
Well, all I can really say is from my personal experience, I got a Casio CZ 101 that well, it was ancient when I got it, and basically there's a few buttons on there that no longer work, and so when you try to dial up patches and such like that, you'll get some interesting noises. I haven't actually done anything to like bend it per se, but that doesn't mean I won't take advantage of the glitch effects that come with it malfunctioning.
Why haven't you taken it apart and started fucking with it yet?
Because I don't know enough about what I'm doing, and I like the glitchiness of it.
Oh,
So
that's right in
I'm
line with
afraid
the
of
beauty
losing
of
it.
diving in there anyway.
Yeah, I figured the warranty's already voided, and it sounds
Yeah.
pretty good. So,
Well, if it's already broken in a way that you prefer, then why bother getting in there? But it's like an invitation to open the thing up and start putting alligator clips on the places where the switches are broken.
that's right. That's right. Run it through distortion pedals and whatnot.
If it's already broke, don't fix it.
That's good. I would be very interested to hear what you're doing with, because I have a love-hate relationship with the old Casios.
Yeah.
Because the CZ3000, I call it Z because I'm Australian. CZ3000 was my first synth ever.
Oh yeah.
I love that thing. And hey, just really quickly, Rob, this is on my turntable right now. I don't know if you can see it. It's fucking Jimmy fucking Barnes. I'm listening to Cold Chisel. And this is I don't even know what this East. What a fucking album. East. This is Aussie rock at its best. I always listen to the drums, the lyrics. Christ. Fucking insane. What year is this? 1980. Love it. Yeah, I'm really so interested in circumventing. I don't know enough about it. I want to learn, but I don't want to do it because does anybody else find that there's these rabbit holes in music where it's like, no, fuck that. I just really want to make music. Like,
Honestly, I think you know this about me, but modular synthesis in its entirety, like really, it's fun being proximal to it and knowing people who have a lot of gear, and I understand what's going on, but I haven't gotten a single module yet because of that exact reason.
that's interesting. Because I've always I'm into modular, and sometimes I wonder why am I into modular? Because I keep making sounds that could be made on a synthesizer. Like, harkening back to what we were saying before, is that classic fucking Jimmy. Yeah, indeed. Is that, I have got so much boundary to push on a modular synth. Because I keep thinking, I'm not pushing it enough. Yeah. Yeah. Circle of Tone, where are you from? Because everybody's got like 5 different names, and I just go, I don't know who the fuck you are. And then you say, oh my God, it's you. Welcome. Anyway, yeah, who the fuck are you? Yeah. But welcome, whoever the fuck you are. Yeah. What, Eric? What?
That was an accent. No, I'm just kidding. So I think I have that thing, like modular is interesting to me. The hardware is interesting to me, but I'm so like grounded in a DAW and a singular DAW. I don't want to switch anything because it just gets away from writing the music. Now there are times when I enjoy having everything hooked up, and I got stuff hooked up now, but I just never get past that. Try to get it into the DAW piece of it, even though I have more fun. I usually make that stuff live versions of the stuff that's in the DAW, but even like a singular VST, take the most popular one there is, Serum, right? It's been out 10 years. Version 2 just came out, and there's people still making videos of stuff they've just discovered in the first Serum that they're the experts in Serum, and they still didn't know it did this. And sometimes it's just a basic feature they didn't know existed, or it's a really clever trick or way to wire it up, or it's a way to make it do something to get something really cool and glitchy and distorted out of it. And now we got Serum 2 to spend the next 10 years with. Or like, I'm an FL Studio guy. They have a VST called Harmor. Harmor is one of like the most like advanced synthesizers there is, and every time a new synth comes out, you see a post at the bottom that goes, oh, Harmor just been doing that for 8 years, or that was already a feature in there. Oh, you could already drop images into that and create cool wave tables from that years and years ago. But it seems like the same issue is just like, people aren't probably getting to know their VSTs very well either, especially since it's so easy to get a couple for free or low price compared to a multi-$1,000 piece of hardware. No one's getting really deep diving into those things as much.
Thank you for this. I'm going to circle back to you because you brought up the Warthog before.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you about that after I talk to the Resonator.
No, let's stick on that. Go back to Eric. I have some other topic stuff. Go on.
Okay. Thank you. Eric, you've pointed out the Warthog. Tell me more about why are you interested in this? Because, it's modular. Tell me all about it. Go.
To me, what's interesting to me is that it has DAW integration. That's the part that stood out to me, and it's not a wall of stuff I have to put together, but it gives me like that entry level into modular where I can start getting into it and using the cables to plug into different things. But it looks like they're saying it has very deep integration with the DAW, and it has total recall. So I can go and patch things up and save things, and I'll be able to go back to those things later instead of the little bit of experimentation I did before. It's like, oh, how did I get that again? Maybe the cable wasn't plugged in right or something, or how did I even did the same settings and it's not going back to the same sound. To me, it's like this gateway between real modular wall of synths to, that DAW digital integration that I'm comfortable with and I like.
Have they mentioned a price point on it?
They haven't, but people are saying it's probably $2,500, unfortunately. But that sounds normal for this brand.
Yeah, yeah.
But it does a lot. It's pretty cool. And even has little wooden wheels. I love like real
I
knobs and
like
all of
it.
that stuff.
Nice wheels.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
When you think about modular synths, what is it that you imagine or want to do with it? Like, what's interesting? I'm just interested. What are you interested in
To
doing?
me, it's the arpeggiation. I love a lot of that pulsing and the cool bass lines and the little leads you can get off of that with like kind of just moving knobs and doing stuff. But it's also the kind of, I like to automate like different knobs and stuff in Serum to get that kind of like effect. Like I'll do 2 or 3 passes on a bass line or a synth in the recording, so it's like very subtle changes, so you get kind of that uneven imperfect kind of a approach to it, so it sounds more real and warm. But I also like having like to see the knobs move. Like I want a mixer that I like to see the faders move with the DAW, instead of having to like always try to make the hardware catch up to the DAW, and it gets out of sync, and then you just get frustrated, and you're sitting there just troubleshooting the connection between those things, and why isn't this fader knob working anymore? I just want to be able to dive into it and not have to go into experimentation mode and just get songwriting. But there's other times you want to have all of that to go do the sound design, have the fun, and you're not trying to get a song done. But I'm usually in the mode of like, I got an idea, I just want to get the song done.
There's a lot going on here that I'm in love with. Firstly, Circle of Tone, welcome to the United States. Yeah. And Northern and Cold, we could tell you all about modular synthesis. In fact, does somebody want to tell, because Eric will bring some stuff up you said in a moment, explain to Northern and Cold what a modular synth is and why it's interesting? Or whoever wants to.
I'll jump in.
Yeah, that's a
Thanks.
big
I
one.
would, but Rob said I talk too much, and that's made me really paranoid.
Modular is a kind of a funny word because it predates non-modular. So it would be just have called synthesizers back in the day when these things were being developed. And it's the thing that makes the noise and the thing that shapes the noise and the things that control the shapes and noisemakers are separate boxes that you would have to wire together. You can't just type on the front panel and say, shakuchi, nose flute. Instead, you grab your wires and you connect the things that make the noise into the things that shape the noise, into the things that amplify the noise, and then you add the things that control those, and then maybe you've got a keyboard on there. But the main thing is that these are patchable, ostensibly separate units. And you can sort of make a shade of modular-like things that are also in one box, where your thing that contains the noisemakers, noise shapers, and noise shaper modifiers all in one box with switches or patch things on the front to reconnect them in different configurations. But that's where the modularity comes in that these modules can be configured as you wish to configure them, rather than in the way that some genius like Robert Moog decided that they should be wired in a fashion or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. A whole bunch of boxes and you can fuck with shit. Normally it's in
The
a,
more it looks like test equipment, the better.
yeah. So it's like Razi said, it's all the elements of a synthesizer. But the thing about a synthesizer is that it's wired to go from this box to this box to this box and then out. Whereas with a modular synth, you can wire the boxes in whatever order you want. And like Razi said, this box makes a sound, this box shapes the sound, this box distorts the sound, this box makes the sound louder or softer. But you can change all the orders, and then you can start making each element be affected by a whole bunch of different random strange things. So it fucks with shit epically. And it's really interesting as well how it comes back to me, I don't fuck with shit enough. Like, I keep listening to fucking Wendy Carlisle. I mean, not Wendy Carlisle. Who's Wendy Carlisle? Mad About You, man. Oh, that was Belinda
That's
Carlisle.
Belinda.
Sorry.
Her sister.
Carlisle. Who's? Yeah, her sister. And Wendy Carlos thinking about how I just don't push shit enough. And Wendy Carlos was very pally with Bob Moog and did this album, which is the biggest selling classical album ever, called Switched on Bach, where they did a whole bunch of Bach with synthesizers, and really old synthesizers in the late 60s, and it influenced all this stuff. And the sounds that Wendy's making are wild. Absolutely fucking wild. And you know, as time goes on, everybody figures out how to do stuff, and it gets more and more and more boring. Yeah. And it's just, yeah, endlessly reminded that I have to push the boundaries more. I have to experiment more. And that's what's great. I'm really glad you are getting into modulars, Eric, because there's so much, like, the important question to always ask is, what happens if I speed up a sequence? I've got an analog sequence, and it's going from this note to 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 this note, and ultimately it's putting out voltage. But I'm not going to put it into a voltage thing. I'm going to put it into the audio input of an oscillator, and I'm going to turn it up real fucking fast. And then I'm going to control the speed with the keyboard. So the higher I play it, the faster it's going to go. So it's going to start generating a tone, and it's actually going to output a wave shape, a weird fucking wave shape that I can be shaping by turning those knobs. And most analog sequences, you can turn them up so fucking fast that they can handle that shit. You start creating your own wave shapes, and that's interesting, very fucking interesting. Shit like that. Or you go the other way, and you tell things to be changing things instead of the course of minutes or nanoseconds, hours. So this very ever so slightly evolving sound. So much fun stuff you can do. So much fun stuff you can do. I need to push the boundaries harder. And that's the thing, is that you make a funny sound, and it, you know, I think it was Rezi said this, and Eric said it as well, how we don't give ourselves enough time to experiment and to come up with an idea, a sound, a melody idea that has been specifically inspired by that little instrument, by that little sound. We come to it with our bags already packed, and we say, sing this to me, as opposed to sing for me. Let me inspire you now, and what instruments in that sound, what music is in the sound, you know? Blah. There's a rant. I'm going to shut up now, because apparently Rob's wife says I talk too much. Does somebody else want to talk now? Does somebody else want to talk right now?
Let's say I do a similar thing with just samples, ripping them apart. You end up finding, you know, the bits of noise in between, like you take a bell, for example, someone ringing a bell. Take away the attack, take away the decay, and just harvest the middle part of it. String that together, and then speed it up, slow it down, change the pitch, etc. And you get a very similar thing, but different generation needs.
That's great. That's absolutely luscious. We were having a great big chat about Kurzweils before, by the way, Brett, and how awesome the K2000s are.
Oh yeah. No, the K2000 is nothing to take a stick.
I'm telling you, I just think that people who sell them for $300-$500, I'm trying to sell mine, and I'm taking it off today, because it's like, I just cannot sell this thing. There's so much in this machine.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
I actually have to pull mine down and repair it, but But honestly, the PC4 has been holding that load. It's not as gritty as the 2000, but it's got all new circuitry and whatnot. So it's a lot more polished on the sound, which is good. But when you want the grit, it's a little bit more difficult to dial that back up. You have to use distortions and things.
Yeah, and as I was saying, that's the really cool thing. Isn't this fascinating? It's the grit, it's the dirtiness, it's the untamedness. And I think that's what a lot of people are drawn to also in music. That the more you make music, the better you get at it, the more you understand production and how to take these frequencies out of blah, 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 when you're mixing and blah, 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 the better you become in your mind, but not in your feelings. Like when there's, sub-harmonics and shit that shouldn't be in there, but they're clashing with stuff, or stuff's distorting and they're making this rumble or whatever, it's resulting in a feeling. It results in a thanks for saying my hair looks pretty good. It's resulting in an emotion, in an emotional response, and that's what you want. And the more pure stuff is, the less the emotional response is. And that's what's great about a modular, or what's great about all of this other stuff, or fucking around in areas where you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. There's an emotional response. And I was saying this before we went live this morning, is that you make this music and you understand where the nuts and the bolts and the rivets are. It's a machine and you understand it and it's supposed to do this thing, but somebody else who has just become invested in it hears something completely different. They don't hear the bass and the drums and the melodies, they just hear this mass. And that mass to them sparks an emotional response. And that's something that blows my fucking mind. How ironically it's got nothing to do with my mind. This is of heart and of emotion. And I can't, you say something to someone and they're going to interpret or misinterpret it. It's the same with music. And I think if you try to create something that people will understand, and they'll hear the same thing, you're gonna try and make a racehorse, but you're gonna build a camel. It's you watch a movie and you hear the soundtrack and the two things come together, but it's the baggage that you've taken into the cinema which is really going to be talking to you. You watch Dune and you think it's great, but if you've had a bad experience with religion or a good experience with religion, that movie is going to mean something completely different, or any other movie at all. Same with the music. Fucking fascinating. You can play somebody the gurgling of water flowing down a sinkhole and they think they can hear a voice in there. Fucking fascinating, man. Really, really fascinating. And my thing that I am struggling with, I feel like I'm talking, this is therapy today, or at least people helping Carl with his therapy, is that, I'm really appreciating my eyes going over here and my mind's everywhere because I'm reading all the comments and they're really great. Like, it's like you said, Circle of Tony, it's the chaos. It's the light and the chaos, man. How I try so hard to write simple music. I want to make simple music. I can't. I always listen to my music and I go, this is convoluted, confusing mash. And fucking the poor bastard Colin who's mastering me is just going, dude, tone it back. Because it's like, whenever I get somebody else to mix my music, they go, mute and all that shit. And it's like, no, you can't. Because that's like taking all the backstories out of Tolkien. And it's just like really understanding that Faramir was a wizard pupil, and that's the whole fucking point. That his father hated him because he reminded him of his mother who died earlier and he couldn't look at him in the same way, and he was this gentle, kind, noble human being who was a wizard pupil, and I just went totally Lord of the Rings right then. I'm sorry. Eric, help.
Hey, it's funny. I ran into some guy with a rabbit hole hat from that UK pub where J.R.R. Tolkien and those guys used to meet up and write their story, exchange stories.
I don't know about this pub. And what did they drink?
Yeah, I don't know. They're in the back room, so it could be anything. So one of the things I was thinking through is like one of the ways I'm using, hardware, and it kind of didn't occur to me till like 2 or 3 minutes ago, but I do remixes of my own stuff, and I'll take it and I'll create loops, and I'll make like a 2-minute version of my song, and then I'll load it up onto the DJ controller, put all the cues in there, and then I'll have samples for like different parts of the songs, like a vocal or something or else, or a particular talking point. And I would just go and play it live and record that and create a remix of it. I did that recently with one track. And then, of course, one of the remixers said, hey, I want to remix that one. I'm like, it's all made together live. It's like, I don't even know how to pull that apart. But I basically took like loops of the beat and then loops of different parts and just started playing it together to kind of make a stream of consciousness kind of vibe version of the song. And I even did a few songs where it's like they're 1 minute or 2 minutes long, and each loop you could just reorganize the loops and make that song 3-4 minutes long if you really want to as a DJ.
Thank you. That's really interesting. There's a lot of conversation going on. Thank you so much, Northern and Cold. Thank you. And also, where are you, Northern and Cold? That's interesting, Eric. The whole idea of here's my song and now I'm going to real-time mash it up. When I first started making music, I had a Casio CZ3000, an SH101, which is I still own somewhere, I don't know fucking where it is, and a DR228 drum machine, and a pen and score paper, manuscript, fucking stripy music score paper, a pencil, and a rubber. And I would sit there and I would compose and write shit down. And it was magical. And if ever I get stuck or lost, that's what I do again. That's why I go back to this, because I'm trying to remind my brain of the magic of how, oh, you're in Canada, dude. Good for you, mate. Absolutely. Tariffs free. Right behind you, mate. That's why, Eric, I asked you about the what you want to do with the modular, because I advise you write that down. And I advise you even use a tape machine, or a tape machine in the olden days, like a voice recorder, so you can record ideas you have of what you want to do with the modular. Because when you're standing in front of the modular, you suddenly go, what the fuck? And it's like, remember when you used to go to Blockbuster or the video shop and you'd go in there going, I'm going to get The Matrix on VHS, but you come out with some new release because you forget. You get overwhelmed. I think it's the same with music, where all this bliggity bloggity bloogity stuff just goes too much. And so write it down. Write it down or record it or something. Draw pictures. Have you ever seen the inside of Jean-Michel Jarre's, is it Equinox or Magnetic Fields, where he drew pictures because he couldn't, there was no way to record, oh, this is the setup for this synthesizer. So he drew pictures. And it's fascinating. I look at that shit and I go, I'm inspired, because I used to do stuff like that with the SH101. I do, this was at this percent. And, but that's a part of my waking up my brain, trying to make contact with, I'm envious that you're drinking Zigzag bourbon. Trying to make contact with that essence of inspiration of, I have no idea what I've got. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm excited. So if you write it down, and if you associate a smell with it, Ivan, warning, we're going to start talking about magic in a minute. If you associate a smell with it or something like that to recall this thing, and remember, if you ask yourself, what am I doing? and your answer to yourself, because you're crazy, is I have no fucking idea what I'm doing, you're on the right path. And if you can get the fucking thing, Ambient Noughts, welcome. You're new here. Welcome very much. Let me know where you're from. Is becoming overwhelmed. And that's why I will get a synthesizer and I will set up a table and I will sit it on the table with headphones and a piece of paper. And I will write down and draw pictures. Because sometimes you've got to get away from the process, the perfection, all of that shit. Very happy accidents indeed. Yeah, absolutely. And that's an interesting thing as well, because I noticed your handle Ambient Nought says ambient. The interesting thing about, oh, you're in Minnesota. Welcome. With fucking with sound, man, it just, and that's the great thing about a modular as well, is that you just set up some drones and they don't all have to be in the same note. Stick one to a fifth or something, I don't know, and go. Allow yourself just to go. Just go. Just drift away, because within the music, within those vibrations, there is wisdom. And you are attracting wisdom from somewhere. Getting into magic. Wherever that is, it might be God, it might be the earth, it might be the universe, whatever it is, you are, because everything exists in the waves. Bathe in it. Let it speak to you. Yeah, there you go. Someone else, please.
Don't forget, it's also fun to take drum machines and make those play your synthesizers. Output of the MIDI cable to the input of a synthesizer. It go on a various different patterns and whatnot, because at the end of the day, they're all MIDI notes. So you get a kind of, I mean, it's not exactly analog synthesis, but it's still different ways of generating sound.
I love that.
What it does is it's going to take it out of something that's familiar to you and make it very unfamiliar very quickly, which is the interesting bits of it.
And this is the experimentation that's really busy, really wonderfully and important. And have it super fast and have it super slow. And then run all those different sounds through a ring modulator or something. Gee, I don't know. Fuck with shit. The thing about it, Super Tablespoon, is the point is you are allowing your brain to experiment and to go somewhere new. And when you look at David Lynch and Eno and these people talk about letting your brain wander. And the wonderful thing about having it machines with that as well is that now you've got a partner to wander with and to let it go free and to let it imagine. You've got to give yourself time to imagine. Yeah, sure. Fuck society. Have the day off. Have an hour off. Here's my favorite song. What happens if I slow it down, wind it backwards, distort it, and add a whole bunch of stuff? What happens then? Congratulations, you're making music. Fuck with shit. Fuck with shit. That's what I have to say. Somebody, go, now.
Yeah, fucking with other people's songs can help get that motivation, energy going too. You hear a song, it could be from any genre, something totally different from what you normally make. And just pulling it apart, rebooting it back together, doing a remix of it. Maybe that's where it starts. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I don't need this vocal on here from this other track now. Let me go add something that I would do. Or maybe this is a great little instrumental track or some. I mean, there's so many places to find inspiration. And you mentioned Lynch, and we talked about this before, but he always talked about creating this space around you that was inspiration. So, you know, we talked about the books that a bunch of us have, kind of the side you could open and get inspiration, the different things that are around us, but just creating that space around you. And I think that's inside your equipment too, not just, you know, whether you have that paper with the lines on it. And, you know, my 10-year-old understands how to write music better than I do, ironically. But, you know, so she'll ask me, hey, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't know. I got to look it up. But just finding inspiration even there, in like the last song, the song we're putting out right now, it's like inspired by a kid's song, because I heard another song and I'm like, that kind of reminds me of this song. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you know, why not use that? Dip into that, you know, whatever brings that inspiration. And don't even worry about if it's too silly or too serious or any of that stuff. Just go with the flow and the energy and see what comes out of it. And a lot of times the first thing you start with isn't the thing you end up with. It's that better thing you end up with later, because you just start getting on that path.
Really fascinating. You brought up two things. One is your environment, you know, making the environment happy for you. And some people it might be clean, some people it might be a mess. But also kids stuff, kids songs.
We used to slow down Teddy Ruxpin songs on stage when we first started going live, and we would start with Teddy Ruxpin playing backwards and slow down, and eventually the tapes got eaten when you mess with it too much like that. But we just started layering things on top of it, and we had a lot of fun with those things, and then that turned into something else later and something else, and it just builds off of each other. And if you didn't start with that first kind of thing, it would never probably gotten to where it ended up.
Yeah, and that's not creepy at all. Not one bit creepy.
May have been intentionally creepy.
Hey, you know, circuit bending toys is something I'm so interested in. This is, look, I'll go on a rant real quick. I won't. I'll crap on for days. Adapt, manipulate, welcome. It's really interesting that I'm trying really hard to keep Ice Planet 9000 positive and to keep it light. But as I was saying, you know, before we went on, is that a lot of people are saying that it's dark, and I'm sort of starting to go. I think I want to start entertaining some kind of darkness in this. Because I've always tried to create it as a safe healing place where if you took mushrooms and you are having a bad trip, put on Ice Planet 9000. That's what I always wanted to do. But I don't know if I don't know. It's just something that I'm trying to figure out. I will proudly say that all of those albums are like Angelspit's Bang Bang Clang Clang Fuck You, every album, every song. But Ice Planet 9000 is like, they're all quite different albums. I'm sort of proud of that. So maybe it is time to, Darker Side of Life. Dude, that's a spiel. There's a thing in that. Ivan, I want to hear about your face. Go.
Okay. So the next Ice Planet 9000 album, what does it sound like when you're being hunted by the alien?
That would sound like Angelspit. Because I'm wanting to defer.
What if you're being ambiently hunted by the alien?
Right. Floating through space like really slowly. But I know I like that. That's nice. Because and there's the other thing of that when Angelspit does an instrumental, it sounds like this. When Ice Planet 9000 sounds like this, and I'm trying to keep them as separate as I possibly can. But nevertheless, for me, something Ice Planet 9000 would be, it's all about grandeur, and it's all about, I'm standing in front of a ziggurat that has been buried in the ice for 1,000,000 years, and it's this beautiful thing, and I can see a universe over the head of me, and it's amazing, and it's grandeur, and there's something dark about it, and something mysterious, but it's grand. The whole idea of actually going in there and being a part of a religious ceremony, similar to in Planet of the Apes when they're going, Amen, 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 Amen. And I only know that because of Snog. But that sort of thing is where there's a creepy existential thing going on, and that's interesting. That's really interesting. But like I said, I feel this really weird thanks, Rob. I feel an obligation that I want Ice Planet 9000 to be healing.
Okay.
Just because, but I don't know, man. There comes a point where something inside you starts calling, and it starts going in a direction, and I think you've got to let it go in that direction, because ultimately, it's okay to be led. And it's okay to be a conduit, and it's okay to listen to the music or the whatever is going on. Because that part of your brain that is making the music might be different to the part of the brain that wants to make the music. Do you understand what I mean? Like there's an amount of subconscious and emotion that needs to drive the boat. That's what I think. Or at least I try and think. Maybe I don't, I'm lying. Brad, help.
So wait,
No.
one more thing.
Ivan, please, yes.
Yeah. Eric, funny you mentioned Teddy Ruxpin. Back in the day, I learned how to program those things like intentionally, because my wife was always joking about seeing Teddy Ruxpin mouth the word skin popper. And so I taught Teddy Ruxpin to sing Skinny Puppy. And it wasn't just doing random stuff, because it's a stereo cassette that you put in, but one side is the audio, the other side is the audio that gets turned into commands for the Ruxpin.
Yep, skinny Ruxpin. I love it. Just add some knobs to it. That'd be nice.
Hey, so and by the way, welcome Spookaphonic. So we can hack Teddy Ruxpin. Am I saying I wasn't brought up with him, so I'm not sure of his name? Ruxpin?
Yeah,
Teddy Ruxpin.
So he could become Teddy Ruxputin.
There are some really cool lo-fi Russian synths out there that can be pretty inspiring as well. Kids' toys ones as well.
That sounds terrifying. I'm anything to do with dolls that are talking to you and get taken over is fantastic. Oh no, he's got one. He's got one. Ivan, I muted you. Sorry. So can you make that work, and can you scare us all right now?
No, I don't think this one works.
Hold it up so we can see Teddy, because I'm not. Wow.
I'm surprised it has its skin on it.
I've got one without it.
Of course you do.
So, Ivan, I didn't know this about you.
Little known fact, I do know how to program these things.
So what's on the control track? Is it multi-frequency kind of thing, just triggers and pings, or is there a continuous tone kind of thing in a couple of frequencies? How does it work?
Continuous tone in a couple of frequencies.
Okay, stop.
And interestingly enough, during the run of Teddy Ruxpin, they actually changed the programming language, so old tapes don't work with new Ruxpins.
Okay, stop. How much are Teddy Ruxpins online? That's my first question. How much can you get a secondhand one for?
They're pretty cheap.
My second question is, if you went down, this is the greatest merch item for a band ever, is a possessed Teddy Ruxpin, where it's $50. Okay. Oh no, that's Eric. Okay, yeah, I want to find out, because you could be doing some wonderfully fucked up shit with a reprogrammed Teddy Ruxpin sold as merch.
That sounds awesome, actually.
You could do stuff like cut his face like this, so half of him is robot, half of him is, so he becomes TD 1000 Ruxpin, or something like that. Like this is. This is great. This is fantastic.
Yeah, we have a video that loops before our sets. That is a teddy bear with a gas mask on it, and it's all distorted and lo-fi. It's just something creepy about a kid's toy and post-apocalypse and pitch
TD1000.
down.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, I love it. I'm really happy. This is fantastic. Sorry, Eric, I just cut you off. So Eric's already using the teddies. You should talk to Eric. Oh God, dude. I just saw, yeah. This is great. That's creepy. Come on, if you saw someone's Kickstarter or something for with a Teddy Ruxpin that was possessed, yeah, I'd get that. Now I do know where you live.
Make some good advertisements with that.
So, and can you actually like have them say their own stuff? It's a little tape thing, right?
Yeah, you put it. The cassette tape goes in the back.
Yeah, and it just plays what's on the cassette, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we were
and
putting
it's
other
just
stuff on the cassette, and and after a while, the cassettes would just get eaten.
Yeah. Well, in the if you just put a cassette in, it's gonna play the A side as the A side, and then it'll play the B side as the
Control.
And so you really only listen to half the music, and it's just doing random stuff otherwise. But if you
So one track for audio, 3 tracks for control.
no, it's just 1 track for control, 1 track for audio.
So I would wait.
It's just a regular cassette.
And that would most likely be a, oh, this is great. This is very exciting. This is very exciting. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to give a lot of people reason to go to therapy here. This is great. Okay. Wow. I don't know what else to talk about now.
There we go.
There it is. Put it next to your face. Put it in front of your face. No, in front of your face.
Distance
Oh,
from
there
my
it is.
face.
There it is.
There
There
we
it is.
go.
There it is. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. You have raised the bar. Okay, what are we talking about now? Brett.
Mine's not as cool as a hack Teddy Ruxpin, but
Is anything, but go ahead.
fair point. So one thing that I thought I had, when we were discussing, different ways of generating ideas and whatnot, drum machines and such. One thing that I'll do regularly is sample myself. So you were talking about Angelspit being blang, 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 clack, you had a better description, but one of the things I'll do, for example, is I'll take a bit of something I like that I've done in the past. I'll rip it out and reverse it. I do this also with a lot of samples, just to get just to make it sound different than whatever it was to start with. And I find I use a lot of backwards messages and a lot of backwards sounds. I find it's actually pretty cool, and it's a neat way of re-listening to something, which kind of inspires another action, and then you build up stuff around it, and you pretty quickly get to something brand new.
I approve. I love this. Thank you. Thank you, Rezi. What amazingness did you have on your skull?
So I've got all this. We were talking about outboard gear and what to do with it, and I don't know, a few other things. But the thing has been on my mind about the ecological responsibility of leaving all the shit in your studio on 24/7 so that it just works. And I think turning things off is a big sort of attrition point for the things that are normaled into my DAW as outboard gear. Once it gets powered down, and then maybe I'm going to borrow the effects loop and hook it up to something else, and then I forget where it's even hooked up, and then the thing is now out of my system. Do everybody here turn off all of their gear between sessions or ever during the day? Is there a time when everything is off? What do you turn off? How do you manage power for things that don't have power switches on the front that take a long time to boot? That kind of stuff. I'll start with, I have one or two things that don't have front panel power switches and I don't have on power strips that are just permanently on. And I definitely have some things that are like, it's a computer, it power manages itself. I never touch it. I just let it go to sleep, and the things that are attached to it go to sleep. What's the combination of that?
Most of my stuff stays on. My Kurzweil will shut itself off after a bit of time. My DAW is almost always up and running. About the only time I'll change that. Oh, hang on a second.
Awesome. I actually turn off everything. I turn it all off because, like, sometimes I'm using stuff, sometimes I'm not using stuff. And so everything goes on. I have a way to turn things on and a way to turn things off, which is frightfully boring, but yeah.
Power sequencing in the right order so that the things don't go pop while the amp is already loud.
Yeah, and also making sure that this guy has to go on before this guy. Then the computer goes on just so the USB works and shit like that. But yeah, I always turn the music computer goes off, turn the thing off, go to sleep. No, don't go to sleep, shut the fuck down. My laptop here doesn't get shut down as often as it should. But I need to do that more often because the longer I leave it open, the more clunky and confused it gets.
Well, part of my question that comes to mind is, how do you know when it's time to shut the stuff off, and when do you turn it on?
I turn it on before I'm going to use it. And that's part of the difficult process of me because it's like at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like, gotta make music, go, go, go. But I'm not like that. I'm trying to hype myself up. And I stop using it when I just go, fuck this, I can't do it anymore. Or I've run out of time because of reasons. But that's an interesting other question, excuse me, is when you say, fuck this, my ears are tired, my brain isn't calculating anymore, I can usually tell that I start going onto social media.
I'm on 2 days in a row of knowing that it's time to shut stuff down and go into the other room and do something else for a few minutes before it's time to sleep. I don't know if that's sustainable, but I've managed to shut things off twice in that manner.
I think
Okay.
I plugged this synth in over here and haven't used it yet. It's been like a month.
What
It's
synth
still
is
been
it?
on. It's the Apex Novation AFX station.
Oh, okay.
But there's a hopeful posture in that. Like, you turned it on, it's plugged in, you leave it powered up thinking, I'm going to just walk over to this thing and make noise. That's why it's all hooked up and turned on. But is that healthy? Does that actually happen? Does it come to pass?
That's an interesting question. I've never worked like, I've always turned it off. Always turn shit off. Me. Because partly it's power. Partly I don't want to. And also, like, I was raised in a place that if anything is left on dormant, there's heat in it and cockroaches can get into it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That'll make you shut things off. My
Yeah.
PA's been on for 2 weeks, I think. I haven't turned this sub off, any of that stuff.
Yeah. Cockroaches like the warmth and they like plastic because plastic emits a smell that cockroaches like. So I turn shit off. But that's just my heritage. Ivan, I see your hand.
Yeah, also the power down state of your equipment throughout the studio does affect the noise floor of the studio. You know, because humming electronics and humming motors are, not your friends necessarily. So one of the advantages of working, like working in IT, uh, very used to the idea of just using a remote managed APC to manage power in data centers. And, these days, because of all of the ups and downs, you can get those for dirt cheap on, eBay. So just do that. And now you've got a power strip that's remote managed. And, even better, you can wire that up or, connect that up to, a third party, Raspberry Pi or something and remote manage that from one single place with just a button or just
Ivan, I think Google Home, HomeKit, Alexa things are down to under $12 an outlet right now. So you don't even have to go data center quality APC managed stuff wiring your own things. You can just tell your voice assistant to turn the studio on at this point
yeah.
pretty reliably for cheap money. I don't know where the break even point is for how much electricity you save. And of course, the switch itself is now running its own Wi-Fi router and taking some power. So there's a little bit of a balancing act, but I am thinking about it personally, like as far as the ecological impact and cost impact of all that electricity being on all the time.
Yeah,
And I
really,
doubt that I could possibly offset the decades of misspent youth power, but
for me, it's mostly about managing the noise floor.
that's actually the thing that got me on switched outlets for audio gear also is I have one particularly loud video switcher by Blackmagic that you can't leave it on and do audio stuff at the same time. They're just not compatible. It's too much noise. And that was one of the first things that got a remote power switch on it. There's no power switch built into it because it's rack gear, expected to just be on in the truck all the time. So
Fantastic, thank you. Hey, I've got a question from Rob, if I can change the conversation. I have a quick question for the group. That's us. The group. But it was a small T and a small G, so fuck you, Rob. How I think we're deserving of a capital T, capital G myself. How do you connect up guitar pedals, effects pedals with synths? Do you use a mixer or DI boxes or control synth gain direct? What works best for you? Go.
direct, just plug them in. I don't even split that shit usually when I do it.
No, hold on. If you're running a synth into it,
Yeah,
doesn't it distort?
turn it down a little.
Dude, I have to turn it down a lot.
LMH. Doesn't your synthesizer have a hardware switch for the 3 levels of output? That most guitar pedals have such a wide range. Yeah, they're made for pretty small and very high impedance combination, pretty small signal level and high impedance, but they're very forgiving. And if it's a distortion, that's the point anyway. But synths have a really wide range of output levels. Pedals have a really wide tolerance. I've had no problem just running them direct. That said, everything's on the mixer with send anyway, so they're all impedance switchable, I guess, at least, depending on the things. But combination of that. But plugging them direct works a treat. There's no harm in it.
Interesting. Thank you. Brett.
I kind of use a multitude of things. So I'll plug in direct as well for some pedals. Some pedals are too hot, like the death metal pedal. That's way too hot. So what I'll do for those is I'll take the sound into the DAW, where I've got essentially a virtual mixer, run a line back out to my Xair, and then I can run that through either my quadriverbs, a pedal, run it back into the system. At that point, it's all line voltage anyway, so makes things pretty easy. That makes it also gives you the advantage of being able to take advantage of VST effects. So, for example, like my guitar doesn't have a good gate, so I'll fire up a gate and FL Studio. I just forgot the name of the hardcore. That's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. But I'll fire up those tools that way. It just kind of depends on what I'm after. If I want to blow the speakers out, direct is great. If I want a little bit more nuance, then I'll just get it down to the voltage. You can also accomplish it by turning down the synth a little bit, like Brad was saying.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Ivan. Ivan, you're muted.
Here we go. Okay.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
no, right now it's yeah, I've got the Op6 set up with mono out to the Fairfield 2094 pedal to get the nice radio noise. And then the Fairfield is connected, with just a jumper over to a Eurorack LFO that's sunk back to Ableton.
Crazy. Okay, that's interesting. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, I play most of my shows with my brother, and he has a drum machine and like a little synth that is hooked up to a whole array of pedals that he has up on a desk that he performs with and stuff. And he also has it so he can put his vocal into it and kind of do all of that. The sound engineers love it when you show up with all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I highly recommend bringing your own DI boxes. Couple of those is always going to make these things go a lot better. I basically just use a VE20 pedal for a Boss vocal pedal that has a bunch of harmonizers and effects built into it with settings that are easy to trigger with your feet or your hands. But sometimes you can get down there, it has enough knobs on there, you can start messing with stuff. But the thing live, the biggest thing that'll challenge us when we're getting set up, we're pretty good at getting up on stage, get plugged in within 15 minutes, make it super easy. But it's those pedals and those cables, low impedance and all those sorts of things where something is not connected right is where we're usually having some kind of weird feedback or something not working when we're trying to get it set up really quick.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. For me, I actually run stuff into a DI box because not much of my gear has twin outputs. And I found that if I just drop the volume, although predominantly the gear that I'm using through distortion pedals are the Emaxes, and if I run them through and I drop the volume, the noise is bad. Like there's good noise and there's bad noise. And if I run, I'll go a DI box. And I also have I'll run it into a compressor, and the compressor's got a volume output, and it's a really good volume output, so it's cleaner. And I will sometimes gate, often very heavily compress going into distortion, because with the variance of dynamics, the distortion is going to sound like ugly distortion because I'm using like DS1 Boss thingies. And also you mentioned the metal pedal. Is that the MT32? Is it? Oh, MT2? That one. But if you drive them too hot, they suck. They sound awful. So
I think
yeah,
the compressor is the key thing. That's what most people aren't putting in their chain after the pedals and all that.
yeah, I'll put it in before. So if I'm going to distortion, I compress first, and I compress real fucking heavy, like quite heavy. So yeah, DI, man, DIs. My mate Steve, Jedi Master Steve, has a system where he's got a little input output thing that's got a resistor on it, and that's how it just drops it by like 20 dB. And there's no noise or anything. Did he put a capacitor or he put something else in there as well? It's like, Jesus, Steve, you should sell these. Just plug in and boom. Because that's the thing about fucking modular synths with a DI is modular synths are so damn loud and DIs are so damn quiet that if you plug a modular synth into a DI, it's just going to sound awful because it's distorting like crazy. And that's the other thing is like, man, like if I'm using the Badstone phaser, compress really heavy, and it's got quite a forgiving headroom, compress super heavy, then turn the volume way down, or run into a DI, because if that thing distorts, horrid. Back in the olden days when certain things sounded good. Hey, what's going on, team? I had my Etsy Freedom 2 that hooked into a tons of fiddles. Okay, cool. Does anybody else want to talk about anything else, or do we want to go to MTV TV? MTV TV, MTV TV, MTV. We might do that. I'm cooking an epic pasta today. I'm really looking forward to. I love cooking. I'm a crap cook, but god damn it, I love cooking. Some pedals can also be switched to line level, and also Eric. Oh, you're doing a chili?
Yes, sir. Texas got to do chili. It's by law.
Okay, of course it is. And also, I got your email. Thank you very much. Tell me more about this law and what's involved in this chili.
So I like to do less beans, more meat, and I grew up where ground beef was put into it. And when I got out on my own as a teenager, I started putting cube steak meat in there, and ribeye meat when I could afford it. And to me, it's like really a hearty steak, tomato-based chili with just a lot of big chunky onions and green peppers. It's pretty basic, but it's just like satisfying.
Do you put bacon in there?
Sometimes what I'll do is the way that it makes it the best is like I'll chop up like a chuck steak, because that's like the best quality meat for the price that you can get. And I will cook bacon in the pan. I'll have a Dutch oven that I cook it in. So I'll cook. It sounds like a euphemism for something. I don't know what it does, but I'll cook the bacon at the bottom of the Dutch oven, take the bacon out, and then cook the meat in that rendered fat, and cook them like little cube steaks with lots of salt and pepper in there, and you just get that little burnt, crispy edge on the meat. It makes the chili a million times better. And then maybe I'll throw the bacon back in, but realistically, it's probably been eaten by the time the chili's getting cooked.
That's the thing, is if you put bacon on the side, someone's going to eat that shit.
Yeah.
I keep seeing those. I did a stream of my infamous butter chicken, which rocked. I keep seeing those YouTube videos for like the epic fucking knives.
Yeah.
I keep going, I want an epic knife.
Yeah.
But I don't cook enough, like, so I can dice up my tofu or something. I don't know. But no, I've been looking forward to this meal. I've got to make like a big chunk of food, and then I'm going to freeze a bunch of it. But it's chicken sausages. They're quite nice chicken sausages with bacon.
Cooked in Marmite?
No. Not Marmite. What the fuck is Marmite? Right.
Isn't that an Australian thing?
No,
It's like
that's
halfway
veg-
between marmalade and marmite.
I don't know. I just made it up.
Yeah, it's Marmite. Doesn't that like blow up like TNT?
It's a diet version.
But now
Thermite
here's
and marmite.
actually something very
Marmite.
interesting that you can cook with Vegemite, because it's mega high salt content.
I have
and
seen that.
yeah, if you cook it, if you throw it in with your onions at the beginning, and it's a different taste too. It's a real specific taste of the salt.
Because
if you
umami kind of thing.
well, it's a very thick, hearty salt, and that's the thing about when you cook with salt. There's different times you put the salt in. Same with garlic. If you put it in at the beginning, it will dissipate in a certain way. Then you put it in the middle, that dissipates in a certain way. Then if you put it in right at the end. But it's bacon and leek and these sausages, and they're like super nice Italian fucking. I went, fuck it. I'm going to spend money on this because it's going to be like meals for a week because I'm working. Yeah, Frank gets a sample of everything. And I'm going to be doing my magic trick with, and there's like a tomato-based sauce, which is great because it cleans the wok after, because it is so amazing. The trick with pasta, if you give a shit, is you got to get port. It's always about the fucking port, and it's got to be cheap port. People laugh at me with my port. Don't get it. Crazy. Step one, a small amount of port, pasta, water. So there's about an inch over the top of the pasta. Mix. So it's kind of like this purpley color. Stick it in the fridge overnight. That's now going to hydrate the pasta. Pull it out and drain it. I know it's a waste of port and a waste of water because you can't put that on your plants or anything. You got to throw that shit away. Drain it. Drain. Then in your wok, you quite a healthy amount of olive oil, and you might crush up some garlic. Throw that in the olive oil. Then you throw in some port, like a small amount of port. Swish, 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 because it goes sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. Then you throw in the pasta. So dry pasta, which has been hydrated, going into the into this oil. Does anybody actually give a shit right now? Is going to do something mind-blowingly incredible to that fucking pasta. Like it will be like, wow. Pork in a what? Port in a what? Oh yeah, it is. It really is. And because when the port hits that hot oil, it's going to caramelize. And then the pasta is imbued with port as well, and that goes into the oil, and you're basically frying it. So you've got to like throw, and it's fucking epic. Yes, it will crystallize. And because port's got a super high sugar content, it will caramelize. And then you mix that in with your epic fucking bloody chicken stuff. It's fucking awesome.
Get that
You ever
bloody
put
chicken stuff.
Worcestershire? You ever put Worcestershire sauce in anything, Carl?
I'm not a fan, but maybe I should try it.
Yeah, it's
Because
got that.
you'd put that in a chili, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay,
brings
cool.
up the beefy flavor.
All right. Maybe I should try it. Do you just like sprinkle it in, or do you do something special?
Yeah, it's a few drops, not too much. Don't go crazy with it.
Okay. There's a drink that has Worcestershire sauce.
Bloody Mary.
My dad used to have this Worcestershire sauce, and it used to come with like paper wrapped around it.
Yeah, it still does. Yeah,
Still
leave Pierre
does?
on
The good ones
there.
do.
Yeah,
Wow.
they could charge you more for the paper.
Huh. Well, Ivan, your cat is so yelling at you right now.
Cat's getting hungry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't have anything else to add right now. Oh yeah. Jen, you should tell Super Tablespoon your naan mix. It's dope. Oh man, I gotta cook. All right. So thank you for joining us. We're gonna write to MTV TV very shortly. This is here every Saturday on Angelspit's Twitch, also on Angelspit's YouTube. Thank you so much for following it and everything. Angelspit's Patreon, $3 a month or more, or don't pay anything, and a lot of that stuff's going to be freely available. If you're a Patreon member, I always send, when I do an album or something or a release, you get a free digital copy. The Nebula Suite is now going live, and it's awesome, and it would mean the world to me if you'd go check it out, or you can listen to it for free on streaming. Speaking of streaming, the Industrial Incisions playlist is a whole bunch of bands that you need to know about. Go like it, and it's mixed with other bands, and every time one of these people throw me their music, it goes there. And these people do, of course, do their fucking thing and bloody pimp it as well, because it's got to get pimped. That's Culture Vulture, Wednesday nights. It is a very, very fun stream because everybody gets drunk and fucking it's awesomeness. Razzie, thank you.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Please listen, follow, and subscribe to the Resonators Resonations. That should be a band, the Resonators. We're going to MTV TV. Hey, Melody, welcome. Thank you for watching. This has been great fun. And we're going to raid right now. Diana, tell me when that raid has happened. Or, of course, I could just look. Yay, MTV TV indeed. And remember, fucking if you got music, send it to them. Boo, 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 boo. I think we're raiding. There we go. Boom. Raided. Okay, well, that was fun.